Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm just going to wait 1 second because we're waiting for everybody to join in a number of different places, so I appreciate your patience just for one more second. Okay, great. Welcome to Streamlining Cannabis Business, HR, and Payroll Technology, a webinar we at the Cultivated team are producing with our partners at UZIO. My name is Jay Rosenthal. I'm the co-founder and managing director of Cultivated Media, which you can find at cultivated.news. We hope you do. And for the purposes of this webinar, I'll be your host, moderator, and back-end technician and producer doing all the fancy tech stuff on the back end. When we started working with the UZIO team last year, we knew that we wanted to host a webinar focused on how cannabis-specific HR and payroll tech can help manage your cannabis business more effectively and more profitably. We know it may not always be the sexiest topic, I guess, but it is mission critical for your business no matter where you fall on the cannabis supply chain, and really no matter what size your business is in, and really what stage your business is in, from pre-launch to post-launch, pre-license to post-license to scale. We wanted to host it in January 2025. We're just getting it in right under the wire as folks now are kicking off their cannabis year and think about how to make changes and updates to their businesses and operations to be more efficient and more effective and more profitable in the coming year. Because with the ever-changing regulatory and compliance landscape, having an HR and payroll partner that understands the cannabis industry specifically and has built technology specifically for the industry is essential. And coming up, I'll be joined by Lily Rainey, the head of sales for UZIO, to talk about what HR and payroll technology is, how the tech works, and how it makes your life and cannabis businesses' lives easier. I'll jump on after Lily is done with her presentation, and I'll pepper her with some questions that you can send to me directly. I'll put my email right here. And because we're hosting this on LinkedIn, you can also send me a DM. I would caution you putting questions in the notes in LinkedIn because obviously those are public, and because we're talking about HR, some people don't want to be asking questions directly that everybody will see. So send them to me directly, send it to my DM. I'll ask Lily if I can, if it's appropriate, but also, and this is important, I want you to get in touch with Lily if you actually have any questions. So I'll put her contact information in the notes during the event as well, so you can get directly connected to her, and hopefully we'll get her phone number too as time goes on. We'll put that in the show notes as well. So with that, it's my pleasure to welcome up Lily Rainey, the head of sales at UZIO, but more important than that, Lily is a friend of mine for a long time, and importantly as well, a friend of the industry. She's been working in the industry for a very, very long time. She understands the changing needs of cannabis businesses, especially as it relates to technology. She's been working with cannabis businesses up and down the cannabis supply chain for a long time. It is my pleasure to welcome her here today. Lily, over to you.
Thanks so much, Jay. Yeah, we're going to start with talking about payroll and HR technology, kind of the overall how, why should we care? Why do we talk about it? Why do you need it? So to start with, when you're starting a new business, in cannabis, we talk a lot about new operators, new businesses, new markets, new. So what does it actually take to stand up a new business? And we always think about revenue. We think about capital. We think about location. We think about products. But one of the backbones of every business is, how do you run HR? How do you treat your people? How are you going to pay your people? How are you going to run payroll? Some really basic ideas are, how are people going to clock in and clock out? How are you going to track hours? How are you going to track timesheets? So when we think about setting up a new business, we think about in terms of really just any business. In this instance, we're talking about cannabis, but at the end of the day, we're standing up a business entirely. So what are the things that we look for? What kind of questions should we ask? What's important? A lot of times we think about softwares answering every problem, but maybe we have a few top problems. Like in cannabis, we see a lot of companies that are really small, actually in the grand scheme of things, very small, so 20 employees or under. Almost every new business that we sign up is actually 20 employees or less, which when you think about 20 employees or less, what do you need for a 20 employee company? You need a payroll software, you need someone to pay your taxes, hopefully federal, state, and local. So tax administration is what we refer to as that. A lot of times it is an automatic connection. So they literally just set up a connection between the state or the federal government with your tax ID numbers. And the system actually, whatever it generates as tracking for your taxes, it automatically submits for you. In our case, we actually have a tax administration team, so it's just how you would like it handled. Our tax administration team actually audits before we submit, so that tends to feel very much like an extra form, an extra layer of support. And when we're talking about companies that are 20 employees or under, we really do want to think about support. I know this is something you probably have been told at every software company. What does our support look like? What kind of, so we think about these questions. We think about average time to resolve a ticket, average time to respond to a ticket. How many tickets are actually resolved or resolvable? Then we think about things like product or feature requests. I know this sounds like tech language, but at the end of the day, it's actually your business, right? Like if I can't clock in, clock out, if I can have my employees clock in, clock out in a way that I can track and then submit with payroll, how do I tell the company, like, I need this, and then have them answer that question for you? And then what's their actual capability of building? In this industry in particular, we run into a lot of resellers. We run into a lot of people white labeling other platforms and repurposing other platforms. I mean, it's across the board, not just in payroll and HR. So they don't have any capability of building. If they do, they're submitting feature requests on behalf of our industry to a multi-billion-dollar company. That what are our chances of actually achieving something different or changing something that was unique to us? A 1,000-person company might feel really humongous for cannabis, but it actually falls under SMB entirely. A lot of these companies are dealing with mid-market and enterprise level customers. Mid-market, we tend to think about 5,000 to 10,000 employees. Enterprise, we tend to think about 10,000 plus employees. These are real problems that we have. And what is this system? What is this company? How capable are they to stepping up the technology, hearing the feedback? So when we think about what do we need to start a business, at the end of the day, you need payroll. You need tax, you need to be able to pay your taxes, and then you need to be able to manage the HR. So a lot of times we think about managing HR in terms of PDFs, documents, contracts, offer letters, all of these, what people might consider boring HR tasks, but in our minds, it's actually really critical. Like how you send out documents, how you get them signed, how do you file those documents? In our case, we actually have digital management of documents where employees actually have access to their own, contracts and HR documents that they've signed. But in a lot of cases, it's a folder in a cloud. And that's perfectly fine too. When you're under employees, it can be very efficient and sustainable to manage these things one-on-one. However, there are tipping points. So we see tipping points at 20 employees where maybe running payroll by hand or running timesheets in a Excel document becomes unsustainable. Then we see another tipping point at 50 employees. Things really start to churn at that point. We're looking at problems like, how do we offer a retirement solution? How do we offer a benefit solution? How do we pay expenses and track expenses for employees? These are problems that we have to think about when we're standing up a business or we're challenged to think about. And when we're going out there and shopping around and seeing what we have available, in cannabis, we have a different question we have to ask. Are you cannabis friendly? Will you support our industry? Will you support my company? This is an important question to ask. And, a lot of times we get wishy-washy answers. We do. We get answers like, well, let's talk about that. Let me ask my manager, the questions like that. And I know there's always a question in this industry about accessibility and who's willing to support us, who's willing to reach across the aisle. It's not always a yes, unfortunately. And sometimes it's a yes right now and then a no later, which we'll talk about that in a second. The other thing that is really interesting with standing up a new business and a new company is 20 employees or under, you need to be able to ask a lot of questions. You actually need not just, can you answer a ticket, but can you help me? Do you have time to jump on with me? And, we offer something right now. We just launched a shared services where, we're starting to do these tasks for our employers. But, it doesn't have to go that far. It can really just be, I need this report, I can't find it. Can you produce it for me? So these are the type of questions and the type of things you should really be looking for as a new business or a new license holder or new to owning a business entirely. We're actually really grateful in this industry that we get a lot of new opportunity. We do. We get a lot of new business owners, and that presents different challenges, which really means different solutions. So for us, we also, we do transition people quite often that already are operating. They already have a system. They may like or not like their system. And then sometimes that question gets answered for them, whether or not they get to use that system. So in particular, we're thinking about why work with a system or a company that won't support your vertical, or how do we do that? Why we ask questions like, why run the risk of being removed from that platform? When you're in a scramble, when you're trying to make a business decision, I mean, in HR and payroll, it's people's lives. People can't live without a paycheck. That's not something, we can't skip a payroll just because our provider said, oh, I know we said we would support you, but we're actually not going to anymore. Making decisions based on hastily or based on, a circumstance outside your control can be very costly in terms of time. Think about the change management. I mean, just think about what it takes to train employees to use a new clock in, clock out system, or to log into a new portal to check their pay stub, or how to find their W-2s. These are really important to not just your company overall, but actually your employee retention as well. It's something you have to think about as a new business owner or even existing business owner. How do I keep great talent? And how do I attract new great talent? And then of course it's extremely costly to make hasty decisions just in terms of money, just in terms of how much it costs to transition in a very short period of time. You don't have the luxury of time at that point. So we see both types of customers, and like I mentioned before, we actually are very unique in the sense that we support both in-market, in-vertical, and outside vertical. So we see transitions quite often. That kind of encompasses all of what our customers look like today. But there's other questions. There's other things you should look for. So I don't know, Jay, if you want to go to the next question.
I do. First of all, I want to thank you. That I was taking lots of notes. If you looked at my sheet, it's there's some things that are green and some things yellow that I want to ask you about, because some people also messaged me with some questions during your presentation. So can I pepper you with some questions, because I want to get to some almost concrete things that are happening in the industry today, but also give some examples of sort of how you've worked with businesses that some of us might have heard of, and maybe some specifics. The first thing you mentioned that struck me is that I wrote down locked into a solution. And then I heard some other reasons why, a lot of these businesses that we're talking to obviously today, but obviously in the industry that we know, they're so eager to get their doors open. Everything is about getting the license, getting open. They're bleeding money. They have to get open to start see the actual business. And I get that, and they're making, I think your words were hasty decisions just to get open. They're not really thinking about HR and payroll because they actually haven't had to meet that yet, maybe, right?
Yeah.
And so they get locked into a solution because maybe it's either the least expensive or the one that is at their door or the one they've heard of the most. And then they get open, and either they start to grow too fast and their use case that was before they're open to now is not good, or their provider says, oh, I didn't even realize that you were working in cannabis, you got to get off.
Yeah.
Or it's just they're not even industry specific, and it's they're not doing work to make it easier for them in the industry, in the market they're operating in. Those things happen all the time.
Yeah.
Am I right? It's just all the time.
All the time. I think anyone in this industry that's in payroll and HR, we've all got a wild story, right? More than a few, right? Actually, not even in payroll and HR, just in software or in this industry. We've all got a wild story. And I think, well, that's a lot of questions packed into one. But I think, I think the first one I'll take is that, you know, you have a lot of rights as an employer. You have a lot of rights. And if you find yourself locked into a solution that's really not working for you, you know, the opportunity to move systems is always going to be there for you. You know, how costly is that in terms of everything I mentioned before, but specifically in terms of change management or budget, money, you know, those are things you have to consider, but sometimes it's really either you don't have a choice or, you know, that decision's being made for you. So a couple of things. One thing is, you know, once you, like I said, there were tipping points, right? At 20 employees, at 50 employees, we even see another tipping point at about 100, sometimes 75 to 100, and then another one right about 200. And the reason why I mention those is because sometimes there's state mandates, there's federal mandates as well. So in benefits in particular, if you have 50 or more employees under one EIN, you have to offer them a benefit solution. And in cannabis, we have a unique problem where not every broker is willing to work with a cannabis provider. And in a lot of ways, they will try to work with you because they want your business, right? So they'll do things like help you come up with a workaround, right? Or help you brainstorm ideas of how you can operate not looking like a cannabis operation, or, well, let's just not mention it at all and see how it goes. Like, I mean, I've heard it all, right? But unfortunately, at the end of the day, you have to think about your employees, right? When you're an operator, you got to put yourself in their shoes, which is what's going to feel comfortable for my employees? Again, what's going to make them happy? What is affordable for me? What's sustainable? You were just talking about growing. We have sort of a unique question in this industry, which is, if I'm 20 employees today, if I'm 50 employees today, if I'm 300 employees today, but in 2 years I'm going to be 1,000, you know, is part of that growth story switching your entire payroll and HR system? That's a real question. And a lot of times when we're opening up a new location, we're not thinking about 1,000 employees. We're thinking about 20 employees. But it also kind of goes to, what is your end motivation? You know, what is your motivation for being here? What is your motivation for opening up the business? If you do have 1,000 employees in mind, you're obviously going to select a provider that offers benefit solutions. You know, benefits administration is one of them. That's how a broker actually applies and opens enrollment, and employees actually can go in and select a plan, compare plans. What does that experience look like for them? How many brokers are they working with? Are they broker agnostic? Are they going to force me into a specific plan? Are they going to force me into a fund, which is putting a bunch of companies together and offering solutions based on, you know, a larger number? That can be super beneficial, and it can be not what you're looking for. So how do you select? How do you go through all these things when you're just opening up your business and, like you said, you're trying to build out, right? You're trying to get product, you're trying to get distribution, you're trying to get insurance for the building. Like, it's a lot, right? I think in this industry we find a lot of consultants. It's a popular model for this industry. You know, we've helped people in other industries. Now we'd like to help people in this industry, or we'd like to help people in both. And I think that's a really good way to go. I think a lot of times if you're one location, one EIN, you're under 20 employees, you know, we hear a lot in this industry about a PEO model, which a PEO model is when those employees actually don't work directly for you. They work for a payroll company, and that payroll company takes on all of the liability for those employees, which can feel, especially in cannabis, whenever somebody's willing to take on the liability of your employees, man, that feels great, right? However, again, 20 employees to 1,000 employees, if that really is your goal, you know, is it sustainable, or is it actually even business efficient or costly for me to be on a PO to start with and then transition and take back my employees at some point? Paths like these are something that, you know, when we talk to new owners and new businesses, we should ask questions like, okay, what do you look like today? And what do you hope to look like next year or the year after? Or, dream completely big. What are you looking for? What do you want? What is the end game for you? Is there no end game? Do you want to be in this forever? These are actually really important things to note. And then it helps people like us that are looking to find the right solution, not just our solution, but the right solution for you. It helps us actually give you really good advice. Not based on, hey, I want you to sign this contract, but more about, I think we actually are a really good system for you, or a really good option for you. We like to think of ourselves as a good option of a lot of people, but at the end of the day, there are some folks that maybe we're not the perfect fit. And what me and my team like to do is say, yeah, maybe we're a perfect fit for you. There's actually a couple other options. Do you want to check those out too and just make sure we're the great fit? This industry gives us the opportunity to really work with our clients like that, work with people like that. And maybe at the end of the day, you're only 20 today, you're not planning on going to 1,000, but you'll find yourself in a year at 1,000, and then you'll think about us, or you'll think about, a solution that really does offer a more comprehensive package.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It reminds me, the 2 times that I ran a marathon, people would give advice to dress for the finish line, right? Like, don't wear super heavy clothes if it's going to be 60 degrees and sunny by the time you finish, even though it's, super cold at the beginning. But it is this type of thing, like, think about where you're going to be and plan for that, because changing so many times along the way can be really, really challenging, both time, energy, money, the relationship with employees, all of those things. It is interesting and good advice, which makes me think about, is there an example of someone that started off either small or with a solution that was like off the shelf or really well known, that then shifted to something because either they grew or it wasn't the right solution, or both?
Yes. We do.
Can you talk about it now?
Yes. Yeah, I think the best example, we have a lot of examples of it, as you can tell from the way that, I've described all of these different scenarios. The best example, we work with a company called Picos Valley. I think they're actually, in my mind, I've been in this industry for a while. They are an example of how to do things really well in this industry. And they only operate in New Mexico. That's not actually a bad thing, in my opinion, because they really, really know their market. Even when you talk to them, I've talked to them supporting different software systems in the past, and they never really talk about themselves, right? They talk about their customer. And then when we're talking to them in payroll, they're talking about their employees. Everything they talk about is, well, how are my employees going to feel about that? Or how do I communicate that to my employees? Or, sometimes my employees, their lives are difficult because of this reason. How can we solve that for them? And they talk about their customers in the same way. This is where our customers really like to see from us. This is why our customers love us. And we get, I'm honored to provide them with a payroll and HR solution, the UZIO platform. And they actually came to us in a hasty situation. And I'm grateful they found us. We have met them in the past, so it was more of a reintroduction. I've never met their payroll team, but they are fantastic. Absolutely love working with them. And something that happened to them is that they were on QuickBooks Online, so KBO, payroll and HR, and QuickBooks QBO can be like a very easy solution for, again, a 20-person, 50-person company. It's affordable. There are some hidden fees, but not a crazy amount of hidden fees, like some of the other larger companies. You really won't get any support. You won't really ever be able to contact someone with totally, and it's fine. It operates in all 50 states. There's some really boxes that you check, right? But offering a benefits administration tool is not really an option. A time management tool, all of those are third party. But what they found themselves in a situation of is, their name is Pecos Valley Productions. That's their name. And, that doesn't sound like cannabis. However, of course, QBO recently, actually twice over the last year, decided to scrape websites, content, anything in the platform to find keywords like marijuana. I think they even went for leaves. It was really, Yeah. Oh, exactly. Yes, exactly. So they have these like key words. I don't know if that word in particular would but definitely cannabis and marijuana. And then there's some other, they actually gave us a list at one point. We do try to remain in contact with teams that are outside of cannabis, just so we understand, like Paychex has done this a few times, ADP has done this a few times, and now add QuickBooks Online to another one of these. But Pecos Valley found themselves in a situation where QuickBooks actually told them you can't run your next payroll on our platform. And they actually run their payrolls weekly. They do run bi-weekly, but weekly based on which location or which are you headquartered or another location. So they end up running their payroll weekly. This gave us a really unique problem, which was we need to not only transition them over in the middle of a month, in the middle of a quarter. So that means prior comp. I believe it was June or May when they came to us. So this is not an easy task. It took 6 people. I'll be transparent with you. It took 6 people to do this data migration, and we were able to. They contacted us on a Monday. They were meant to run payroll on a Friday. We were able to transition them that quickly, which I'm so proud of our team. That's a huge accomplishment in itself. But it's also the way they did it, very smoothly. The team really felt supported. The team really felt like my dog wants to talk about it. The team felt like they really had like a large team behind them, sort of helping them solve a problem that they really shouldn't have ever had in the first place, right? I mean, if you think about this in terms of an industry trend. But so yeah, we were able to transition them, a full transition in a week and a half. We work really closely with them. We do run the first payrolls with any one of our clients live in a screen share. So for us, we kind of are able to watch what they're doing, help what they're doing. And that kind of sets the tone of how we support our customers post as well. We're really grateful to be able to support them. We do support a few other large operations like them, but that was the most extreme, I would say. If you talk to any payroll company transitioning or doing a data migration of a company of that size, which there are over 300 employees, in a week and a half is not doable. And, it wasn't just because we could do it and nobody else could. They really liked what we were offering. And not only what we're offering, but, how we were offering it and the partnership we really offer our customers. And I know that sounds like a sales pitch, but this industry in particular needs that. They're looking for that. They're looking for someone they can actually talk to,
Yeah, and you're good to talk to, Lily, for sure. Not only in this setting, but in lots of settings. And so with that, I want to ask, can I put up your phone number and email? What's the best way to get in touch with you and the team?
Yeah.
I don't want to give them your cell. I don't want to give people your cell phone unless you want me to.
Man, yeah, I'm totally fine with people having my cell phone. I do think that we are quite busy. I could get into a little bit more of how busy we are, but we are a tech company, so we're really pushing our tech right now. Not just for the cannabis industry, but for the payroll industry entirely. We want to add pressure to push other companies to really advance. So email is probably the best. So lily.rainey@UZIO. Let me know, and I'm happy to have a conversation with you anytime. But I can also just connect you with a rep that specializes in your state or your territory, because there are some unique sort of territory specific or state-specific items, like what is the mandate for 401k offering or a retirement offering per state. Like a rep would be more up to date on that in particular, be able to support.
It's pretty specific. I put up your email right here, but I'll also put it in the chat and a link to the website so they can check it out themselves. Lily, I super appreciate your time today. Thank you for your partnership with Cultivated and UZIO. We look forward to more good work down the road, and thank you for sharing all of it today, and we'll connect with you. We'll connect with you soon.
Thanks so much, Jay. Thanks for having me. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Thank you again, Lily, for joining us. It was a pleasure. Thank you, all of you, for joining us here today. I would like to ask you, if you're seeing this on LinkedIn, to follow us on LinkedIn. I'm going to put our YouTube channel, or I just did rather, in the notes, so follow us there too. Get our newsletter in your inbox every day. It's at cultivated News. We look forward to presenting more webinars like this to help your cannabis business run more efficiently, effectively, and help you to grow in 2025. Again, my name is Jay Rosenthal. We look forward to connecting with you at future events like this. We look forward to you reading our daily newsletter every day as well at 7 a.m. Eastern Time in your inbox from Cultivated News. Thank you, everybody.